All right. Day 2 of part 2, or day 13 of the overall unit. Displaying qualitative data, frequency distributions, and histograms. So a frequency distribution is a table that shows classes or intervals. So you see down here, we have classes, also an interval from 1 to 5, 6 to 10, 11 to 15, and so forth. Of the data with a count right here of how many are in that class or how many are in that group. So below here we have the ages of the first 43 presidents. All right. So it is broken down by ages from 40 to 44. Now, the common thing is to think that's a gap of 4, but if you think about it, that's 40, 41, 42, 43, and 44. There's actually a range of 5 in that. So you don't do 44 minus 40 because it includes that. So each of these is a group of 5. So 45 to 49 and so forth, up to 75 through 79. And here's the breakdown of how many are in each group. Obviously, you can see the largest amount is between 50 and 59. Okay, so how do you do this? First off, determine how many classes you want to use. Okay, how many groups there are. Remember, classes and groups are the same thing. Use between 5 to 20 classes so patterns can be seen. You don't want it too small or too big, otherwise the data is too spread out. Then you calculate the width. So we just talked about how 40 to 44 was one of the widths. Okay. What you do is you take the maximum value minus the minimum divided by the number of classes. So for example, up here, we wanted obviously 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 classes. So our oldest person was 78. And it looks like our youngest was Teddy Roosevelt at 42. So 78 was our oldest, minus 42. Whoops. So in this case, 78 minus the 42 divided by the 8 classes we want actually gives us 4.5. Okay, so you could either go either way. And we obviously did a group from 40 to 44, which is 5. Find the limits. Remember, they can't overlap. Okay, so that's why we did 40 to 44 for our first group. Okay, which is actually a group of 5 in each one. Then tally them all. So you'd go through and count and say, okay, this is how many in this group, how many in this group, and keep going through. And then count the tallies for the frequency to get the total number. So here's how we do that on a graph. Okay, I'm just going to give some fake numbers here. So let's say we did a bunch of students in class, and there were the lowest was 58 inches and the highest was 75 inches. Okay, 6'3" and 4'8". All right. So if the highest was 75 and the lowest was 48. And let's say I wanted 6 classes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on this one. All right, I would do that, and I do 75 minus 48. I get 27 divided by 3. Sorry, I meant 58. I don't know why I wrote 48. Said it. 75 minus 58 is 17 divided by 3 is 5.6. So that's our 6 groups right there. Or 3. So it's just under 3. So that would mean I'd want 58 to 60. That's 58, 59, 60. That's 3. And then 61 to 63. And then 64 to 66. Again, this is not 2. This is actually 3. 67 to 69. 70 to 72. And then 73 to 75. And let's say we're going through the list and go, okay, we had 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, another 1 here, then another 1 here. And then we were just going through and tallying, like so. And I'm just going through like as if this was a real class. And how many kids we have. Oh, another taller person here, and another one here. Let's say there's 5 there, another one here, another one here. Let's say 5 here, 4 here. Okay, another one there. Have a couple more here, one more here, one more there, one more taller kid, and that's it. Let's say that was the whole class. And then what we do is we do our cumulative. So we have 4 here, 5, 6 here, 5, 6, 7 here, 4 here, and 3 here. Okay, I'm going to move those over here. We're just going to total them there. Let's just call this total. Okay, this is the frequency. We got our total here. Then we're going to have the relative frequency. And we're going to have the cumulative frequency. Okay, so what we're going to do is, first we want a total, grand total here. So 4, 8, 6 is 8, and 6 is 14, and then 24, we have 28. So there's 28 people in the class. Then we're going to do the frequency percentage. So it's like a quiz score. So 4 divided by 28. That's 0.14. And then that's going to be the same thing, 0.14. And then we're going to do 6 divided by 28, which is 0.21. 7 divided by 28, which is 0.25. Then 4 again is going to be 0.14. And then 3 divided by 28 is 0.11. And then with cumulative frequency, all we're going to do is we're going to just bring this one straight over, 0.14, and then we're going to add this one to this one. So 0.14 plus 0.14 is 0.28. Then we're going to add this here. 0.28 plus 0.21 is 0.49. And we're building up to 100%. And then we're going to add 0.25, which is 0.74. Then we're going to add 0.14, which is 0.88. And then 0.11, which will get us to 0.99, really close. We want 100%, but depending on how decimals round, it may not be perfect. So we just go with that. All right. Then on to the end here, we have expanded frequency distribution, what I just kind of talked about here. We'll get to that. So we have the midpoint, the relative frequency, and the cumulative frequency, which I just introduced in that chart. So the midpoint, you take the lower class limit plus the upper class limit and divide by 2, like any other midpoint. And then the relative frequency is a percentage, which we just did. So frequency divided by the size. Again, we just did that on the previous chart. And then cumulative is we just add them up. All right? And then we get into frequency histograms, okay, which is kind of like a bar graph, except they're all connected. So a bar graph that represents frequency distribution. Horizontal scale is quantitative and measures the data values. The vertical scale is the frequency, how many there are, and they must touch because it is a histogram. So you could easily turn what we just did into a histogram by just putting the numbers at the bottom and then counting up on the side. Okay, so now we're going to make a histogram based on the data we just had on the made up class heights. Okay, so if you think about this, we're just going to have a graph like this. This is going to be our number or our frequency. And on the bottom here, we're going to put our heights. Okay, now here's the problem. We got to account for repeats, or where does the number go? So when we think about 58 to 61, a lot of times people will put, 58 here, and they'll put 61 here. And then they'll go to count. But the problem is, don't draw this yet, that line, and then this one like this. Well, where is 61? Is 61 in this group or is 61 in that group? Because 61 is this line right here. So we can't really do that. So when we label it, a little trick we can do is we can do 57.5, okay, to 60.5. Because remember, we had 58 to 60 as our group, all right? And then 63.5, and then 66.5, 69.5, 72.5, and finally 75.5. And then we just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now our highest number was 7, but still. So from 58 to 60, we had 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to go up here to 4, go over, and go like that. The next group from 60 to 63, 61 to 63 was also 4, so we just do that. Next group was 6, so we want to go up to 6. Then it was 7, so we go up to 7. And then there was 4 again, so we just branch off here. And then there was 3, like so. I suggest it's not a bad idea to do this, just for your readers who are looking at your data, just kind of go, oh, I know exactly where that is. Especially if you're not using a ruler and going, straight across, because it may not always be perfect when you're just doing it by eye. So that helps kind of clean that up. All right? Then, the relative frequency histogram has the same shape and same horizontal scale as the corresponding frequency histogram. Okay? The vertical scale measures the relative frequencies. So now you would do it with the relative frequency instead of the actual numbers that we just had. All right, so we're going to use the same numbers as we did up there on the bottom. So again, 57.5, 60.5, 63.5, 66.5, 69.5, 72.5, and 75.5. Right. A little bit skewed there. Now, we went anywhere from 11%, 0.11 to 0.25. So let's just here put, let's say 0.10 and go up by, 2s. So there's 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26. And you can fill it in as much as you want. 10, 12, there's 14, 16, 18, 20, 22. You can fill in as many of them as you want. So from 57.5 to 60.5, we had 0.14. And then we had, 0.14 again. So it's going to have the same kind of look, except it's just going to go to different numbers. So there's 2.2, 2.4. The 2.5 is kind of in between here. So we're going to do our best job to go to 2.5. I'm sorry, my bad. That was supposed to be 2.1. So that would be just under 2.2 right here. So about right there. Then we're going to go up to 2.5. Then back down to 14%, 0.14. And 0.11, which is going to be halfway between 10 and 12. So something like that. And that's your relative frequency. Okay, and again, if you want to, you can put these numbers above it just to make it a little bit easier to read. And that's it.